Thank you. Dr. Ianchulev, recognized for 5 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, Ranking Member DeGette, and members of the subcommittee, I'm Dr. Ianchulev, and I would like to thank you for the opportunity to share my personal experience with the FDA and the regulatory process and its impact on patient care, innovation, and development of new technologies in this country. These are my own opinions, and I share them to you with, from the perspective of a physician, innovator, and developer of some new therapeutics in the space. In a way of background, I'm a physician, eye surgeon who uses medical devices and technology to treat and prevent blindness. I'm an associate clinical professor on the faculty of UCSF School of Medicine, where I see firsthand the translation of research into patient care. And as a developer and inventor of new technologies in the field, I've led innovative treatments through the regulatory process with the FDA, and I have direct experience with the drug and device side of the FDA, in addition to experience with the European regulatory authorities. Physicians such as myself feel privileged to be educated, practice, and advance medicine in the U.S. The U.S. has been a leader in cutting-edge innovation traditionally, and my field, ophthalmology, is a bright example to that effect. In fact, the most common device implant today is the intraocular lens implant for cataracts, and this has been one of the most successful, effective, and safe treatments to date, based on innovation of the 80s and 90s, and based on leadership of the FDA at that time with streamlined regulatory process. Today, more than ever, we need best-in-class technology in service to our aging population, and it is unfortunate that patients are starting to seek care from foreign doctors who are now trained and have hands-on experience with technologies we see much later in the U.S., as we heard today. As a physician who not only delivers the standard of care, but also innovates in my field, I have failed on a number of times to treat patients with what I think is the best treatment for them. In fact, I see more and more patients seeking the often challenging offshore route in search of interventions that are not available here, with much added cost, frustration, and pain. When recently asked by a patient suffering from a degenerative blinding eye disease about a therapy not approved in the U.S., but available in other countries, I had to stay silent. The patient ended up traveling to Canada to receive treatment for which he paid out of pocket. But I would like to go beyond the anecdotal experience and ask the bigger question: what innovative first-class therapies are we delivering to patients today? Let's take the field of ophthalmology, which is a good example with its high degree of technical innovation and device utilization. To check the innovation pulse prior to this hearing, on the way here, I reviewed all of the FDA-approved PMA devices in my field over the past 5 years. As you're aware, the PMA Class 3 devices is the lifeblood of innovation, and some of the most advanced complex devices for life-sustaining, or in my case, vision-sustaining treatments are approved through this process. I reviewed the labels of all 12 such devices I could find on the FDA website. At the time of approval, all of them had been approved not only in the EU, but in as many as 20 to 40 countries before they were approved in the US. In addition, some of the devices already had vast clinical experience dwarfing the FDA clinical trial numbers, and in some examples, those were more than 100,000 patients treated worldwide before FDA approval. In one illustrative case, with a cumulative world experience of more than 60,000 patients, the FDA label spoke only of 300 patients in the registration trials, too few and too late. Avoiding a long discourse on the meaning of this symptomatic state, it is not hard to see that we have failed to deliver best-in-class innovation fast. More importantly, we now see that new technologies are not only perfected abroad, but are developed and commercialized to their full extent, and companies now execute not only on small feasibility studies, but implement their main validation studies, their clinical research programs, and even product launches abroad, as evidenced by a recent MDVC report. What follows with that is the departure of talent, expertise, and patients. The FDA is the gateway for new therapies, and as a vigilant gatekeeper, the regulatory process has to ensure safety and efficacy, but it has to facilitate innovation. And examples of that are right in the halls of the FDA. As a drug developer who headed the clinical research and development programs of one of the most successful approved biologic therapies for eye disease, Lucentis for macular degeneration, I have added comparative experience from the CEDAR, whose input and oversight were critical in the execution of this highly complex, rigorous therapeutic program of biologics, and resulted in the commercialization of a groundbreaking therapeutic which helps hundreds of thousands of patients today. So this program was not only successful, but exemplary in many ways of how the regulatory process should work, and was referenced by the FDA itself in a published guidance to industry for best-in-class drug development. The key learnings from this experience: explicit guidance to companies and investigators, consistency and transparency of feedback in the review process, and a high level of in-house expertise from the FDA reviewers. My experience with the development of new technologies is that the pathway to innovation is challenging, and it's necessary to take calculated risks in a thoughtful and deliberate way and to protect patients. We need safe and effective treatments for our patients, and it's critical that we have the best-in-class regulatory process to do justice to the high level of passion, hope, talent, and resources this country invests in the innovation process in helping patients. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Kerfman, now you're recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Chairman Stearns, Ranking Member DeGette, and other distinguished members of the subcommittee.